and their corresponding thoughts, being the foundation of all healing. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm Larry Locken with my co-host Carolyn&Larry Roberts in San Antonio, Texas. I'm up here on the Oregon coast, and we're going to talk a little bit about emotional healing and how it corresponds to your balance, your overall well-being, your emotions, your feelings, and how they all correspond and work together. And Carolyn, it's of course a pleasure to always have you here. And how's everything going down in Texas?
You know what? It's a beautiful sunny day. Thank God. We had so much rain. Oh my God. And we're gonna go and send positive energy, pray in, whatever you want to call it, as well. Yeah, for everything that's happened here and for the energy of this now. But it's a beautiful day. Woke up this morning, able to walk here on this earth one more day, and it's a blessing.
Absolutely, it absolutely is a blessing. I do have to apologize to our Instagram listeners. We just now came on live on Instagram. Okay, so we are on Twitch. Hello, Twitch. Hello, TikTok. Hello, X. Hello, Instagram again. Hello, and Pleiadian Express Productions, where you see the video. The rest is on audio. And so next week, we're also going to add a sixth one. We'll be on our Facebook page next week as well, too, as we only need 3 more likes to qualify for the 100. Yep.
Beautiful.
So what about the subject? What about it, Carolyn? This emotional healing. We're coming to their emotional rescue today, I guess. Or maybe they're coming hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, are you good with me starting up, Larry?
Yeah, you know what I wished I would have done, though?
What's that?
I wished I would have turned that volume up a little louder. It's okay. We'll roll with it. We'll roll with the punches and get to what's real. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, go ahead. Let's go. Let's do it. Yep.
All right. So we're gonna what do you call it? Pray in, send positive energy, align positively, what anybody wants to call it. This is just intended to bring you into the present moment, connect you with your highest light, and to I'm hearing peak you to what we're going to discuss to bring you present so that you can receive the deepest watering is what I'm hearing right now. Okay, so if you choose, close your eyes, begin to slow down your breath, deepen your breath. That is the gift, to be able to breathe. I'm hearing the gift of existence. So I'm going to call in what my guides call the litany, which is Mother, Father, God, our higher selves, our I am, our guides and our ancestors, our star brothers and sisters, our star family, the angels, archangels, and their divine counterparts, masters, ascended masters, and other Christed beings, the Elohim, Mother Gaia, elementals, and especially body elementals of every soul that is participating in every now as they choose and allow. Any other Christed beings, watchers across time and space and dimensions, known and unknown, within and without and in between, that choose to support the broadcasting of this information and these truths offered to all souls that resonate with this, to deepen their clarity, to deepen their grounding and their rooting into their true beingness. And I'm also receiving the Mother, so that she receives the full support. And the Mother from my being is the earth, so that she receives the full support of all that is shared. Because for my being, she has always been unconditional love. And as we have this conversation with our emotions, our feelings, and the thoughts that correspond from these places, we significantly affect the mother and her events on her as we did before. We will again, we are now, as we become conscious of the true strength and breadth of our divine power, which is the will that we are surrendered or merged with divine will in our magnificent multidimensional hearts that pierce this now and all nows, and the energy that pours through them as these portals of light connecting to all things. And the intent of this podcast is to bring awareness to these aspects which are beginning to receive attention but require more watering, is what I'm hearing, because their prevalence and their presence and our realities, as we listen, as we pay attention, as we nurture, as we, I'm hearing submit to their choosing as is balance for our own, in the balance that we are listening to the feelings and the emotions and following the thoughts that have sprung out from these energies, and bringing all of these children that we are, our emotions, our thoughts, and our feelings back into their alignment, because we are the sovereign beings within our experience, each one of us, as we take these little children, these emotional, energetic children that are our creations, and we bring them back into alignment for their highest good, as they are creational forces for the highest good of our reality, as we choose to become conscious of this choice. So it is. May the blessings be. Amen. Thank you very much.
Amen. All right. Well, that ought to set the tone, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, you really got into it there. That was a good job. So, what do you want to take this with this emotional healing? What do you want to kick it off there, boss?
Yeah, there was a channel that came through me earlier when I was sitting in the sun, and normally it comes through, but I wrote it. It could probably come through again, but I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
Because it kind of put a grounding within me that I hadn't thought about. I knew, but it kind of put it in the present moment. So what I received was, the echoes of the feelings come from the inner envisioning and seeing. This is the first step to feel the more, or the next, or to see it within the final step, the final foundational step after the triggering, which is the external. And the inner feelings are either from an external event that triggered the internal, or was an external event that was then projected, which is also manifested externally. The final step of the healing, but not the first step, is the doing. All the forming is from choosing via feelings revealed by their external expressions of emotions. And then the mind seeks its clarity by pointing to external events. At some point, the answers are no longer sought externally, but in the place of all creation within the self. It was kind of a
Beautiful.
mouthful.
Yeah, really. I was going to say, really, I was, man, yeah, I thought you were going to have to take a break there. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a lot.
I think the goal is, we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about it, not in the pre-show, but the other day when we were having a pre-meeting about this, about
Right.
being present in the now moment, right? When you're healed, or when you're on that track, on that fast track to being healed. Well, it's not a really fast track, but I mean, you feel more in tune to being present in the now moment, right? Whereas when you're not, I mean, you're looking for all kinds of ways to escape it, whether it's through sleep, whether it's through, alcohol and drugs, whether it's through whatever food, right? As an addiction. Yeah, I see that down there too in the chats. Yeah. Well, hey, man, it takes all kinds.
Keep going,
Yeah.
Larry.
Yeah. Well,
Just
yeah,
a
you had that kind
distraction.
of book
There's a
with
lot
that,
of
right?
those.
Right. But you're doing. It seems like when we're not whole, when we're not healed, we're doing, and that's most of us. We're doing something to kind of pacify that time, to kind of escape a little bit, whether it's through a TV, even it's something on TV. A lot of people are still addicted to television. Watch that constantly, and it just kind of it dulls you. Right? What I mean, you look for anything to dull you. Whereas when you're healed, you're more in that now moment, and you can kind of take things as they come. And so every moment you're in, you think things through a little bit clearly, and you can adapt to whatever situation that you're in, but be present in that moment, not look for a way to escape it, right? And I think that's what. And we talk about this. All these subjects that we talk about every week, they really tie together. You know what I mean? It seems like it
Right,
just rolls from one week to the next, and
right,
this
right.
this is humanity, and I think a lot of this too comes from not just within, but an acceptance in society of different being tolerant of others' needs and others what you might call hangups or addictions or whatever. It's understanding. It's going to take understanding besides just the healing from inside it. As a society, if we move more towards this kind of thinking, which it seems like we are, but still got a ways to go to get there.
Yeah, it's a when you talk about the understanding, the thoughts within me are compassion, and the compassion will come from a pause. I heard an inner pause, and the inner pausing is like right now. We've been in places where
Yeah.
you got this inner pause that happens because the
Hmm.
events that are happening, and I'm speaking less of the man-made things and more of the
Celestial.
natural events or celestial events
Hmm.
that make you go. Well, they make you go, but they make you go, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? That's happening now? What is that? How
Hmm.
am I? What? I'm seeing these images, like I'm thinking of the orbs and all this stuff, and the person maybe before was in disbelief when they looked at them, and now they're like, well, wait a second. I took a picture with my phone and I saw that same thing too. My God,
Yeah.
maybe that exists.
Right.
Um, and the other thing I was getting was when you're talking about the TV, I'm gonna say this. I still watch TV. I don't watch
Mm-hmm.
much, but there's a point where I reach overwhelmed with the energies that are coming in, and I need a brief
You
distraction
need
to
a
cope.
escape.
You know,
Oh,
I
uh-oh.
I could listen to music, I could meditate, but I feel like it's a I'm hearing it's a buffer. And it's not like
Yeah.
I know some people might watch for endlessly. I don't like that thing
r-
on all the time. It's
Fuck
like a
no, dude. I can't sleep. But some people sleep with that shit on, and it's like, dude,
I
turn that
can't do that.
motherfucker off and
Yeah,
get
I
some
can't
rest,
do that.
homie. You know what I'm
I'm hearing
saying?
within me, I'm hearing it's like a prescription I give myself, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna watch 2 shows. I'm gonna watch a movie.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes, to be quite blunt, in these energies, they're
You
so intense for us.
right.
When you're sitting there, if you choose to, watch TV or you're listening to like a podcast, maybe, or it's an escape, and it's a break from what's happening in your physical
You're
reality, and
escaping your
it allows
reality.
you a buffer zone to
Yeah.
integrate, right? Because even as you
Right.
and I are talking, somebody watching could be going through something, and this is giving them a buffer zone, which means that
Hmm.
whatever that external stuff is happening, it's still happening, but it's allowing them a place where they can step back from their reality and process it without being emotionally connected to it so much, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely too. And you know what? I mean, I'm sorry to hear that you have such a hang up. Myself, I wouldn't really know what it was like to have any kind of a habit or anything. I really wouldn't know. I mean, but I hear that people do like to use those kind of things to escape. But it does. If you know what I'm saying, if like you're saying, you moderate what you're not going to sit
Very
there and
much.
watch it all day long. You moderate it, and you say, okay, I'm going to watch 2 shows. I'm going to watch a movie, whatever it is it might be. Right? Maybe you go a little over sometimes. Maybe you go a little under, but it provides that kind of getaway, that escape a little bit, right? But not
Yeah.
to the point where you're indulging and drowning yourself in it to where it's just like, fuck, man, I'm just doing this all the time just so I don't have to
Too
avoid reality. I can just,
lost.
get
Yeah.
out of the equation, right? This is so weird. It was, man, it was a couple months ago. I was on Lemon 8 and they changed their name, but I had to step back and it really took me for a loop, Carolyn, because this person, their name was I can't wait till life's over. That's what the name of their that's what their name was on there. I can't wait till life's over. I mean, I thought, man, I mean, yeah, it just, it's too bad. I felt it's too bad, but at the same time, I'm like, well, huh, well, that's kind of interesting. Hmm.
Well, I mean, this to me, this would be the lifetime when somebody would probably create that kind of username, right? I mean, I know, I see that. Yes, we can certainly pray for
Yeah,
it,
yeah, I
most
saw that too.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely, hon. I hope that it really
absolutely.
works out.
Um, definitely, I pray for his highest good, whatever
Vacuums
that
suck.
is.
I
Yes,
understand. They're terrible. They hurt.
yes, definitely. So what I'm going to say is, it's like a trickling is what I'm getting right now. The this the energy that is the feelings and the emotions that are the result of that from stuck patterns or from things that trigger to the external, and it's I'm getting like this small trickling of like a, not a waterfall, whatever that trickling would be, like a stream, that this is
Right.
energy that's slowly coming in. I'm hearing the energetic fields of every soul, and it's like it's been held out, but the age that we're now, I always say this every podcast, at the edge of, at the beginning of the Aquarian age right
Aquarius.
now,
Yeah. Right.
the healing happens. The healing happens for every soul,
Mm-hmm.
because what I receive is that you a soul will not be able to exist long term in the Aquarian age, because everything's seen, everything's felt, everything is processed, nothing is ignored or denied. It's all about the
Yeah.
raw here-ness, the authenticity, the flow of life. It's a very different vibe than the Piscean age. And so,
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank goodness it's here. I mean, thank goodness, and more, more 40. It's more of a fourth dimensional kind of a mindset, right? It's, yeah,
right,
yeah,
and so this is like the buffer time. I feel like it's now for the next few years for souls to kind of to get that work done, however they choose to come to it. And there will be those that don't want to do it. No, I'm not going to do it, and they'll leave this earth, and they, they'll come back next. They'll come back next, and now it will all be leaped over everything that we're going through right now. That's what
hmm
I've received for a while. But those of us that are here that are, we're kind of in the trenches of this energy.
Boy, it's
And
been crazy too. I'll tell you, it's just been nuts.
yeah,
I mean, we got to touch on that because it's been really Jekyll and Hyde the last 2 days, minute by minute. It almost seems like, hour by hour.
it's it's intense. I mean, it's I'm debating on if I choose to bring up the thing I told you about beforehand.
Yeah.
Larry, how do you feel?
Yeah, I would. I personally, I would, but yeah, that's your, yeah, I was going to leave that up to you. Personally, I would, yeah.
So I'm here, and he says San Antonio. Technically, I'm in Shirts, which is just outside of San Antonio by about 20 minutes. Um, and I live slightly over an hour from Kerrville. From all that stuff that happened, all that flooding, all that, all those horrible things that happened, and my path, and I respect all other paths. This is mine as a healer. My path is to less point to less of why those things happened, and more to point to the fact that everybody was affected. All
Yeah.
souls made choices that they had to
Mhm.
make, or they felt like they were forced to make, and they made them out of love, or they made them out of fear. And
Mhm.
so what I'm going to bring forward in that is that those states of love, of fear, those are first internally within the soul. They I'm hearing they don't own themselves, they don't know themselves, they seek answers from them. And when a
Perpetually,
person,
yeah.
when a soul is like in love, when a soul is beginning to appreciate themselves, really appreciate themselves by accepting their choices. It's like a big pill to swallow because you're talking about the really awesome ones and the horrible ones that you can't believe you made, can't believe you said, can't believe you did. But when you begin to accept all of it, you swallow that nasty, horrible pill of those things and the beautiful stuff, and you slowly begin to integrate them. This is the healing. This is part of the healing, is that you allow in all of it, all of it. You allow all of it in, and you slowly process it over however long you need. And you come to this place within you where, as you begin to genuinely accept you, that's an aspect of love, that's healing, that's and as you begin to do that and it begins to anchor within you, anything that anchors within you, you project externally. Because anything that happens within, you got the external, internal event, and it's projected externally. So for the souls that are in fear, for the souls that and there's, I'm going to say this way, there's no judgment on that because we've all been there. None of us would be at the place of healing had we not gone through the shit, basically, through the stuff we've made, through those choices, because you can't see one thing unless you have the reflection of the other, the contrast. You see the internal because you've got reflections from the external. You see the external because of the place you are. And the place that comes from balance, or what brings balance, is that when you're viewing the external, you become consciously aware of the projections you put on your external, of those particular filters, which are judgments and belief systems and thought patterns and patterns that have been carried on from your ancestry, and from external stamping, implanting is what I'm hearing.
Everywhere you look, it's flooding you. Yeah.
You become conscious of these. You're like, that's not me. And that comes from a place of, I'm hearing, internal exploration. And so I'm bringing this up because those events were horrible. And I send love to everybody affected. And the love I offer is never for my being. I don't isolate it to one group or one people or one side or one anything. I send it to all, because to me,
absolutely,
in the place of divine balance, certain things could be handled differently. Although what I'm understanding is that the community there responded in a really beautiful way, and to me, that's the truth of the age that we're in.
Right.
You know, and that comes from each individual. There's a healing. It's a healing that's happening now, once the shock, once the pain has been addressed. But for a community that comes together and makes those choices, that's a place within the souls where they want to make a change, where they want to have an effect, where they want to help. And it's very powerful. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because this conversation, this podcast, isn't about emotions, feelings, thoughts, and these kind of events that just happened and others that will happen. These are all divine indications. They're all invitations into deeper healing within self, deeper answers, deeper acceptance, deeper compassion. And as you reach that place within yourself and you address those painful, horrible, I can't believe that did that shit type places, and then you also address those painful, horrible, I can't believe that motherfucker did that shit places.
I can't believe it's not butter. Yeah, right.
and you accept all of it. And you're not pointing fingers anymore, which is a really hard one. But when you stop pointing fingers, because the minute you point, it points back to you. So when you stop pointing fingers and you just accept, it allows you, and I'm getting a wholehearted acceptance, it allows you to move up to a higher level of viewing your experience and your reality. And that step is profound, because that's where you move into a deeper compassion. And really can begin to affect the space you live in, affect your world. Larry?
Yeah, I was thinking too, like we talked about, I'm going to go ahead and probably be the bad guy and bring this up. This is
Bring it
not
up.
right. Well, other nations go through this kind of stuff all the time, right? And we
Right,
never think about it. We think about them as like not, I think some people actually, it's out of sight, out of mind, but I think some people, I get the impression some people don't really consider them, human or whatever, especially if it happens in a part of the world with a darker skin tone, right? I mean,
right.
I get the
Yeah,
impression
we
that they
talked
think,
about this too. You're right. Yeah,
oh, that happens. Oh, those people are always warring, or always at war, or all those people. There's always a natural
yeah,
disaster over there. They're always going through it. They're used to it, right? And there's been some pretty wicked stuff that's happened overseas, like
right.
Thailand a few years ago, and I mean, so we're not immune to it. I noticed that,
No,
like after 9/11, I was telling people, why are we so special? Some of these countries have this shit happen all the time, and then we're boo hoo hoo, and like we're the only country that's ever had it happen. I told
right.
these people, my God, you're thinking with your emotions. Knock it off, man. I mean,
Yeah,
look for the real elephant in the room.
there was some
Yeah.
flooding or something was in China or something
Mm-hmm.
major way before what we were dealing with here. Yeah, there was yes, and you and I talked about it beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
the things, because it was this conversation within me earlier today when I was talking to my guides about bringing this up that happened here, and it popped in my head. It's kind of like, well, so you can
Right.
bring that up. And yes, there's relevance to it, but also remember that as there's suffering here, there's suffering over there. That part of the world has suffering as well. These people deal with this much more often than you do. These people, so it's like, where do you want to, because all of it to me is part of it, not just this one event, just like you're saying, Larry. Where'd you go, Larry?
Well, somebody's on our Instagram one wanting they're really, she's a really cool lady. She put in a request to come onto the video live.
Please, yes,
Um,
bring them on.
yeah. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Let me see if I know how to do that. These things are really, yeah. Oh
Do you
yeah,
need
yeah.
a
Well,
microphone?
yeah. Right. I don't want to see. I don't want to tell you the rest of the version that I was taught, but of that. But yeah, no, it's not appropriate at all. But okay, yeah. So just so people know at home, I do want to remind them, okay, because if they see me moving around, shucking and jiving and moving in and out, it's because I'm running the kind of the control board here. We're on X, we're on Twitch, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and then of course live with the visuals on YouTube. And next week it'll also be we'll have a sixth one, which will be our Facebook page, The Conscious Conversations with Carolyn and Larry. So you have to have 100 followers to go live on Facebook with a page. I think YouTube's 50. I think YouTube should be 100. I really do, mainly because all mine got over 100 down my 5 channels. But we only need 3 more likes or 3 more followers on the Facebook page, and we'll have it. So we almost had it today, but we'll get it next week. So that's what I'm doing. If you see me moving around and trying to answer questions and do all that, that's what I'm doing, guys. I'm not staring off into space and reading the comics or anything.
It would be
Right. So
awesome to, yeah, you and I
yeah,
have been trying to get somebody on here for
a
a
long
while
time.
now, right?
Yeah, and I thought I had invited her in, but I guess
No.
I don't know. I don't know sometimes if these um yeah, okay, okay, she's live, but you know what? The volume is down on Instagram is why she couldn't probably say anything vocally. Um, hmm, I'll have to figure that out. I'm not gonna sit here and ponder it while we're on air. You know what I mean? It'd be like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
fit.
It's okay. We'll get
Yeah,
it
yeah,
ironed out.
yeah. We'll definitely get it ironed out, but there probably would be feedback if no, I got the volume up on there. That's weird. Okay, well, yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to get people to join from TikTok. I'm still trying to learn all this stuff, Carolyn. I mean, you're the computer expert. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you use for your emotional healing, these all these little problems. I always come to Carolyn's emotional, or she comes to my emotional
Right.
rescue. Yeah, I mean, so if there's a big question you've got, she is the Bill Gates of the operation, and the Steve Jobs of the right, and the Wozniak and whoever the other dude was, the Paul Allen. Yeah. They were the 2 brains actually behind the 2, not Jobs and Gates were just the mouthpieces. But um,
Okay,
yeah,
so
go
I'm
ahead.
reminded of when you and I were researching this. I mean, when we already had it, but we were researching it. What I read, which I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I had always felt that emotions were the bigger thing and feelings were the smaller thing. And
Right.
when I was reading about it, I mean, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So feelings are the internal experience. They're the person's individual, personal, unique reaction or energetic state within themselves. Emotions are the external expression. They're the external ones. And I'm hearing within me, they're the acceptable ones. Because,
Right.
and I'm saying that because you might express an emotion that is the accepted emotion, but within you, you're actually feeling something very different. It's a very private conversation with like you and the divine, or you and your body elemental. And, you know, that is all shifted too by, you know, trauma, right? Because that's the internal experience is significantly affected by that. And, you know, it's like this slow programming is what I'm hearing within me. And that's why this process of healing can take and is so private, takes so long, because those internal triggers, you don't even know they're there sometimes. You know, you feel like you're good and and then something happens and externally, and then you react internally because you've got your own individual, I'm hearing stamping, energetic stamping on that particular experience. And these are more and more going to come out. And I'm flashing within me Instagram, but I'm seeing some of the traumatic stuff people have put on Instagram, some of the dramatic stuff that just is like this. It's triggering. I'm hearing within
Exactly.
me,
TikTok same way, nuclear war shit all the time, you know. I
its
mean,
purpose
but
is
you know, you
triggering.
know what? It's triggering, and they get clicks for it. But the thing is, it doesn't really. People will watch that shit though. Like, I mean, they will
Yeah.
watch like a nuclear bomb
Well,
explode, right? I mean, we grew up during the Cold War with desk, you know, under the desk drills. It's not really a neat thing to show. I mean, why manifest that, project that? Why, you know, you could sell it like, well, we're trying to show people what would happen. Well, that's kind of pointless. It's kind of self-apparent what would happen in all-out nuclear war. I mean, it'd be devastating. It'd be, you know,
that
yeah.
I'm hearing like that echo is fading. That
Mm-hmm.
as we
Thank
pull
God.
away more and more from that energy and more into the energy of like the
Right.
Aquarian age, then those fixed reactions, which were assumed and acceptable and nothing else was acceptable, you had to
Right.
react that way, you had to feel that way, you
Oh,
had to
sure,
say those
sure.
things, all that bullshit.
For real,
That's
yeah.
pulling away. That's pulling away. That's
Yeah.
not. And it's
Yeah, I feel like I'm stuck in the 1980s when I see one of those videos of, you know, the shit we grew up with, the scares, the movies, you know, and I see people posting that. I'm like, what the I mean, you know, the 1980s called, they want their, you know, video back, man. I mean, there's a lot of morons still watch it though.
hold 1 second. I'll be back in just like 2
Okay, well
seconds.
then with Carolyn Lanier Roberts is taking a siesta here. I would like to remind everybody that you can see us at
Oh,
Conscious
wait,
Conversations with Carolyn and Larry on,
wait, 2 seconds. It's free.
oh, use 2 seconds. Okay,
I just turned
gotcha,
that
gotcha.
on. The sun, it's like nice and bright out, but when it's not bright,
Yeah,
all I've got is this one
overcast
light.
here.
And so everybody thinks I'm sitting in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps going behind the clouds.
Yeah, I've
Um,
noticed the tone has really changed, though. There's a lot less of it. But you're still seeing a lot of that, you know, military buildup, China and the United States, and you know, I mean, that's fucking old, man. We grew up with the Russian shit. I mean, you know, it's just that energy is lame, and some people get fixated, though. They kind of like that drama of the possibility of it happening. And I think that's kind of fading too. But I've noticed people really are like, some people have always been into that intensity of, well, let's let it happen. Let's, you know, I think they almost want it to, you know, they want it to happen, but they keep showing that shit. And, you know, it gets clicks though. You know what I mean? You can't blame them. People click on it and watch it. But when you're
well, I'm
going,
hearing
Yeah, when you're
It's
scrolling through though, there's a lot of shit that can trigger you though. Like when you're on Instagram or TikTok, you're scrolling through.
yes,
It's not like a Facebook feed where you have to click on the link. Actually, right? You're combing through these videos, which I like that. I that's kind of the new way of doing things. It's more of a quantum computing way of doing things versus the old click on the link and click again. But still,
yeah,
at the
it's
same
immediate.
time,
Yeah,
the consciousness is raising was what I'm getting at, and so I think we're seeing less of that than we would have, say, like 10 years ago. Don't you
right.
think? Right, a lot
But
less because
sure,
there was a.
I was just saying, I heard within me, overall, the satiation has been reached of that
Mhm,
energy. It doesn't mean that there's not
mhm,
those that are kind of reaching for it because it's familiar, but it's also,
yeah,
I'm getting,
weird. Yeah.
they're reaching for it because it's familiar, but they really don't want it, is what I'm getting. They really want the softness, the healing, but they don't know how to get to that. They're trying to figure
But
out.
they've made progress because they're at least at this
Yes,
point, right? Whereas 10 years ago, somebody in that same scenario would have been just all about it, man. You know what I mean?
right.
Or they would have been in complete denial about it. So,
Oh
they
God.
want to, yeah, they want to go and watch it and shit like that. But that's okay. I mean, I've seen all that shit a million times before. There's nothing I haven't, they can show me that I haven't grown up seeing. Grown up during the Cold War. We've seen all the propaganda, seen all, oh, this could happen, that could happen. What if, if
Yeah,
we're fifth, we're
it's
drunk.
I start when I see those. First of all, I'm like watching it. I'm like, because it gets where I'm flipping or what. There it is, and then I'm hearing the music,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh, you're really trying to set the stage, aren't you?
Yeah,
And
really.
it's like
Yeah.
a big play. I receive it like this big play. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, now you're gonna flash this image. Oh, you're gonna flash
Mhm.
this image. And some of it, is legitimate. Yeah, I got it. You're presenting that, and like there's
But
one
it's
I
old.
follow, and he's bringing truth of these historical events, and I think he's amazing.
Mhm.
And yes, I know we've done horrific things, all of us, the collective humanity. Yes, we
Mhm.
have. And to
Mhm.
me, the point is not we've done these horrific things. Yes, we have. The point to me is, yes, we have done those horrific things. Now understand that we all have, not this particular group only, not this particular group only, that every single race, every single soul, because we are these multidimensional, eternal beings, we've
Mhm.
all been a participant of that great experiment. And to me, that's the place that's coming to, is that
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
going to be like, whoa, wow, okay, this particular group did this and this particular group did this. And wow, I can see that they
Mhm.
suffer like I suffer. This person suffers like I suffer. Wow, I
Mhm.
didn't think that this could happen this way.
Yeah.
Wow,
What?
they're
They bleed
reacting this
red. Yeah.
way. And I'm hearing within me, like, let compassion lead. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And that's the ideal, is that that's what happens, that opening, that softness, and that giving space for that now, rather than, which is where the feelings come in, and the emotions, and this other stuff that's been on the external. Thoughts and their validity have been given space for quite a while, and I honor that. They are definitely part of the conversation, but they aren't the full conversation. They're places I go to, and they talk about thoughts. Thoughts are only half of
Mhm.
it. You got feelings and emotions, and those
Yeah.
are
But
very, very
we're
valid.
Do you think that we're getting more in tune with that, though, as far as the feelings and emotions, like starting to think that through instead of the separation, like, oh, those people over there, oh, it's those people over there. And then when you see those nuclear war videos, okay, it's separation. What you're basically doing is you're projecting that onto yourself, that kind of a thing, right? You're
Right?
showing to me, what you're showing to me is that you want that to happen to you. Because if you're sitting there going to
Yep.
say, well, you're afraid of these guys over here with a nuclear weapon, well, those guys are you. We're all one. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're all one planet, right? And we're all one existence with the creation. So, I mean, especially on a planet, it's so petty for a planet to have borders and all that stuff. And we do have a lot of things we need to work through. Borders are ridiculous. Um, they really are, and I think we've been, duped, sold this bullshit like, oh God, a one world government. The only people that really don't want a one world government is the one world government because they know that everybody united would be a problem. You can strong arm a country, you can strong arm a continent, maybe even, but man, a whole fucking planet with no, everybody get no way. I mean, it's not, it's too diverse. There's just no way. And so, but they put this fear in there that we got to stay separated. Oh, those people over there, if we could just get rid of them, if they would just go away. Well, it's like trying to plug up the ocean with a drain or with one of the little drain clogs you put in the bathtub.
It's something that, I mean,
It's
I
really
could
fucking something to behold.
ultimately that mentality that is going to, because it can't continue, right? That ultimately
Right.
is that creates and perpetuates separation, which perpetuates suffering, which perpetuates, it just continues this. It's like a dog chasing its tail. That's the truth of that
Yeah.
focus, that paradigm. I heard within me very clearly, the mirror becomes clearer as you're talking about people are drawn less to this and this and this. The mirror becomes clearer because we mirror, right? We're looking outside of ourselves. That's our mirror, just like you were saying. And as this happens,
Mm-hmm.
we begin to take responsibility. And then from the place of individuals taking individual responsibility for their individual
Mm-hmm.
internal states, which is healing, everything brought it back into balance, back into center, back into divine alignment. As they begin to take personal responsibility, then they have personal power. They take back their personal power. And from that place, they can begin to really create what they want, begin to
Yeah.
create their reality the way they want it. And that
Right.
reality, because we are each expressions of love. When we're in our divine
Mhm.
alignment, we are all just extensions of the
Manifestations of
divine.
the all divine. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
anything you create then is going to be beneficial, beautiful,
Mhm.
holy, pretty fucking awesome. Just it's all from
Absolutely,
that same flow.
innovative. Yeah, innovative. Yeah, it
Yeah,
takes it. It's kind of like when I'm always talking about mixing consciousness with technology, right? If the consciousness level is high enough to handle that technological invention, it can work wonders, right? Like if AI was used for the right reasons, I mean, we'd move ahead a century in 10 years if it was the right people using it, right?
right,
And watching it, and
right.
yeah, making sure it doesn't take over like the Cylons on Battlestar
And
Galactica.
it's fed,
Yeah.
and that it's fed the I'm hearing like the just, the right, the compassionate, the balanced view of things. It's not fed just one level. It's fed like all of it from a place
Mhm.
of I'm hearing inclusiveness, um, balance. It's not just this logical space. Yes, it could definitely support. It can definitely feed. It can definitely help. Yes, definitely. Um, which is a big thing coming from me. um,
Yeah. Why is that?
because technology has been one of those things that I'm just like, because I'm more Lemurian within myself than anything. So technology is, But that said,
Me too.
I've
Me
slow,
too.
I've slowly come into this place where I'm like, well, okay, this is great. This is helpful. Like my babe is like opposite. He's more like Atlantean or something. I mean, he just loves all this technology, and I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
good. I could take this. I'm good with this
Yeah.
part. And it's this
Right.
place of compromise within us, slowly, ultimately.
Well, being a Pleiadian soul that was here in Atlanta or during that time that I was here as an ambassador from the Pleiades, I kind of have a little bit of both. I like the technology, but I like the flow of Lemuria. You know what I mean? Because I was stationed more over
Yeah,
there, right? And so, I kind of vibe with that a lot more. Plus, I'm on what was I live in what was the east coast of Lemuria here in the Pacific Northwest. And the rest of the country was ocean until you get back to the eastern seaboard, where the east coast of Atlantis started. And we've talked about that before too, about the
we have.
Starseed thing. Right, the ones that are from out here, and then the ones that are from back east, and then you're a little bit different. You're Lemurian energy, but you're from North Carolina, so I thought that was weird. But you had a good reason for
Yeah.
that, and Carolyn, well, I can't remember what the hell it was for. We talked about it on the show we did about a year ago when I interviewed you on the air. Yeah,
It helps me know balance more is the only thing I'm getting. It helps me.
right.
I'm hearing something like I can see both camps. Something like that is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was brought up this other way, and I am who I am. So
Hmm.
it's like I'm hearing I can hold divine balance, which is really awesome to hear. And I'm not sure if I want to I respect that as I'm hearing it. And to me, I would
Mm-hmm.
say that anybody that can hold divine balance, it's not something that it's a continual thing. Moment to
Absolutely,
moment,
it's a
you
work
know?
in progress. You can't, yeah. The moment you get lax with it, I mean, it doesn't. You have to keep it going, right? It's like you have to
Oh
kind of keep
yeah.
it. You be a battery and like keep it charged, right? It's not just going to be there. You can't just fuck, you know.
I will
Eh,
say this though, because as I'm connecting with
for
that
me.
energy, there was a time when it would take a lot more work to hold balance. Now for me, it's so much part of me that it's like I have automatically, yeah, I'm more used to it. It's the only thing I can say, but I'm remembering within myself and I'm feeling within myself a year ago, 2 years ago, where I could barely step out, maybe more than two. And I would
Oh
feel like
God,
this.
and I tried worked on you forever to come on air, but we'll go. We won't go there.
It did. It did. I mean, the only reason I'm on air now for anybody
Mhm.
listening is because I did 2 interviews with him last summer, and
Mhm.
the
One of them didn't
flow.
even show up. The best one wasn't even. Remember, we had to can that one because we couldn't hear your audio when we did the replay on the. So you were nice enough to do it like 2 nights later. We redid it, but
It was preparation. It was you, me, and God. You, me, and the divine,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, that's it, man. And whoever
And
saw it live, a couple
and
people.
if you hadn't been so chill and laid back, and then a timing was right for me, I mean, I don't think we'd be doing this because
Well, I was
this
just
is,
getting back
you know,
into it. You were my first. You were my first or second. You were my second interview in 6 years, or like 5 years. Well, 5 years I did one 5 years ago, but it'd been a year since I really quit. So really, I'd only done two in like 6 years before that. So I was getting back into the game too, and so yeah, it was kind of a crazy time. But and then of course that was right before we had that badass shift in November with all those heavy energies. It kind of was nostalgic. It reminded me kind of 2014 and 15. Yeah,
right.
right, right. But I mean, it's yeah, and you did great. You were wonderful. You did it like a pro. It was like a night off interviewing you. Seriously, it was wonderful. I'm not trying to make it a Carolyn love fest here, but yeah, it was really easy,
Um,
very, very chill.
um,
Carolyn speaks with her guides, but it's a quick conversation. She doesn't get up and do semantics and wave her hands in the air, and when she's talking to her guides and get into this
no, I'm
dance
not
like
going to do
Jane
that.
Roberts and shit. No, none of that fanatical bullshit. I
It's
mean, really
it's
straight up, back and forth with you guys. None of this,
individual.
oh, sweet spirits, none of that fucking nonsense, right?
It's
I mean,
individual
straight
per
up.
person.
Well, I get it, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's 2025. It's not 1995. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I know. I'm just
Mhm.
grateful that that all fell together and that you helped me remember my remember some kind of legs. They're saying some I can't tell what they're giving me. Some kind of I'm hearing like on air legs or live legs or something like
Mhm.
that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, I appreciated you coming on. I had been the funny thing is, guys, for about 10 years, right? Carolyn was in one of my groups, and every time I'd go to ask her to come on and do a show, then something would stop me and I never got to her. But she was just there, and it was really, really weird because she would have been as good as anybody I'd ever had on. And I don't know what the hell, maybe it was just some divine thing, but I couldn't get
divine.
across the room to you. It's like one of those dreams. I always have these dreams where I'm trying to get to somebody across to like a dance floor or something, and I can never get to them. People keep stopping me. I can never get over to them. And that's kind of what it was like for me with you, as far as that
Not
goes.
divine time. Not divine time. That's the only thing I can say, you know?
Mhm. 10 years,
Um,
man. Yeah, time.
yeah, the main thing I could say is
Yeah.
and this isn't this is just the main topic is what I'm receiving is for every soul, if you're at a place where you're ready to connect with those feelings, to allow in those emotions, to,
Mhm.
to let yourself be in that space, to pay attention to those thoughts as much as you can and that energy, you have to
Mhm.
put yourself in a place that you feel home and you feel safe. Um,
Yeah.
and it came into my head earlier today. Um, I didn't connect with all of that where I lived most of the time because I
Mhm.
could have, but I wanted to be out in the mother, out in nature. And so for whatever
Mhm.
divine reason, I would go to the park that's close to me called Landa Park, and it was like my home. And I would literally be
Mhm.
there for hours and hours and hours every day. This was my path. Everybody else has their own. But what
Right.
I began to realize, I realized this earlier today, is that like that allowed me to step out of patterns and to see
Oh,
things.
okay, I see.
And
Yeah.
I
Good.
began to see things. And I also, like, when I would go, I would like to take a notebook. I had my phone, I would take pictures, and
Yeah.
I just let myself be. I would hike. And I allowed myself to be in this space, and it was like automatic. Nobody
Yeah.
told me. I'm like, even
You,
now, I'm not sure how I wound up there. I just knew
you,
that it's like I needed an escape. I wasn't seeking an artificial escape. I wanted, like, I'm sure other people, you could live in a nice big house and you could just go into some other room and decorate that room
right.
or whatever, right? But for
Absolutely.
me,
Yep. Hmm.
at that time in my life, because I didn't make much and I would rent a room, and, you know, I would move from place to place. Um, and so my home became Landa for me. And I was there literally every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Full of
and
the feeling too. You brought all that stuff with you, right? And you weren't like doing it to you just were in the moment. It was some people pack all that shit. It's more about the idea of them bringing all that. They get caught up in the minutia and the surroundings instead of the inner peace that a
I,
situation like that's going to bring, right?
the only thing I would pack for myself would be, and people would be like, how would you do that? What about work? Well, I did work, but my work allowed me those times when I wasn't working. Um,
Yeah, it's called days.
I would pack a backpack. I would have a blanket where I could sit down. I would have like a bag of almonds or snacks or something. I would have a notebook and pencils. I even, over time, because I discovered that I did like to draw, that I did like to do. So at some point I would take pastel, watercolor stuff, or I would take the really cheap little paints. And I would just let myself be. And that's what I'm getting right now, is how I began to connect with things and how I began to see patterns for myself, is that I was in this place. And to me, the mother, the earth, the water, the air, the animals, the birds, the sounds, the energy is unconditional love, every expression, no matter how it presents. And so to me, for my being, I allowed myself to immerse in that space. And at some
Hmm.
point, I was like, I was interacting with the squirrels. I remember I was starting to talk to the trees. I was starting to hear them.
Yeah,
Oh, hold on.
right.
As we
You
needy stuff.
you
I was reading that.
yes, I agree. But somebody say old people. Yeah, yeah. We I'm old. I'm older than hell. I'll be 50 next August 1st. So
So,
yeah, I know
and
I'm
so
old.
I was like, I
Thanks.
I would lay down, I would meditate, and that's when my meditation was the traditional meditation of being still and, just listening to nature and
Oh
that kind
yeah,
of thing.
cross leg on the floor, 25 or 6 to 4. I
But
know. Yeah,
it changed over time, because they had we had there Atlanta, it's fed by hundreds of natural springs, and so there's this raw energy in certain parts of it. You could feel it.
yeah.
Or I would listen to the water, which was very healing to me, the running water. And I'm 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 sharing this because, to me, the major beginning of this healing for me, because I had all these emotions, and it was a very painful place. It's the reason why I am where I am now, is because I gave myself that, I allowed myself that, and I made that my priority. Um, and it's like slowly built on itself, because I would just, um, I began to allow my heart to lead me,
Hmm.
within reason. I still had to work, but I would allow myself to immerse in those spaces completely. And it began to show me patterns. I began to see things that I hadn't seen before, about myself, about the way I see things. And that's when my blessing picks began to come through for me, which was my channel really began to open more. And the blessing picks are the words that come through me, along with the images. Um, Yeah, they're just throwing stuff out there. I
was just reading the comments. Yeah. I
yeah,
was
I
going to say that.
know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
But
sharing this because, for any soul that's drawn to this, and this podcast is about feelings, emotions, and the thoughts. Yeah, to me, that's where it starts. And for some people, it will be like sitting in front of professionals, talking to them. That's fine, or talking to friends and beginning that, provided that person that you're talking to is, I'm hearing, a loving person, an open person. If you're sitting in front of a friend and they're friends to you, but they're very hard or judgmental or whatever, then you need
yeah.
to know what mirror you're looking into, what mirror
Yep.
you're choosing to bounce things off of. Because
Absolutely.
if you want to grow from a place that's not of
You know
hard
what
and
another
angry
battle
and
you're going into. Yeah, you got to be prepared, know what you're dealing with in every now moment. Discernment, right?
discernment. Yeah. So, yeah, Larry.
Yeah, well, you were talking about being in tune with nature. I had this day about, I don't know, it's about 11 years ago, and I went for a walk in the woods, and all of a sudden everything around me was this beautiful bright red. I'm not even kidding you. The birds were just chirping and singing in harmony. I'd never experienced anything like it before, and like you said, I see squirrels running around, and I just was so in tune with everything, but everything was like singing in harmony. It was weird, and I wasn't even and I hadn't even been smoking any of that green rotten tobacco they accidentally give me sometimes at the store. But really, everything was just in tune, and
Yeah.
it was like you would hear on a fairy tale, or them talk about. It was really amazing, right? And the
Yeah.
sky was like this crimson kind of a red. It was so beautiful. And everything was just in oneness. And I was just noticing life around me that I never noticed. And like, it's teeming with life, right? Around
Yeah.
us, much like the multidimensional life that's going on above us, right? Where, you're in the higher dimensions, you can see what's going on below you, but you can't, when you're in the lower vibration, you can't, your vibration's not high enough to,
Yeah.
it's not
You're like a,
spinning fast enough to pick that up, right?
yeah.
Yeah, more tunnel vision. That's why all these shifts we go through, it picks up our vibration and it helps us, establish, be able to move up one more rung, right? Because you have to be able to handle the vibration. And the vibration, like I've always said, it can be the loudest sound you've never heard before. It's
Right.
really, if you're not used to being in that vibration, yeah, it make you go crazy.
You feel it when you're not, yeah, I'm hearing, in this place of fear, when you're not seeking those answers externally from you. That's when you begin to
Yeah.
tune into this stuff, because maybe your external, I'm getting, maybe your external is shaken so much that
Mhm.
you retreat within yourself. And in that
Yeah.
place of going within yourself, maybe you put your barriers down and you let yourself just feel and allow in that
Mhm.
energy, because we are energy in these bodies. And so as we're navigating in all spaces, we, depending on your discernment, again, depending on your discernment, which is an action of the heart, you're navigating in spaces, and you're ideally sovereign within yourself, your body. If you are an empath and a very sensitive soul, and you aren't aware of that yet, then you can take on energies of others like a sponge. And,
Mhm. You got to
and
be
that's a big
careful
thing
there.
too. Yeah, you have to be very aware of that. And at some point you
Very
become aware of
aware of
that.
it, very diligent with it, because it can, even it gets even the best of us sometimes, you know what I mean? If we don't watch
Right,
it, even
right.
it's
Yeah, you just, and if you
ground
are,
yourself.
an empath, and you're becoming aware of this, one of the questions you can always ask yourself is, if you're feeling a certain way, then you ask and you feel within yourself if that's yours. Is this
Mhm.
mine? Is this my energy? Is this where, um is this mine? And you'll get very clearly, you'll feel it within yourself. Yeah, that's mine. And because you'll have another energy erupt within yourself, an emotion, and you can't deny it. It's
Right.
just there,
That's
and if
like
it
when
isn't,
yeah.
it just cut
It
off. If it isn't, it's like,
right.
oh, you just kind of let it go. Oh, that's not mine.
Yeah. I think we've always heard that term thrown out, right? Well, all your thoughts are not your own, right? But they're really not, because
Right.
you're picking up everything around you. So you're like a radio station. I always say the
Yes.
Pleiadians told me you're like a powerful radio station, right? And people
Right.
can tune in your frequencies from all over the galaxy. But it's just that people around you too, right? You're here. Their thoughts are being projected. and you're picking up on that, right? And so some of those things, like you'll have a weird thought and it's like, that ain't like me to think it, because it's not you, right? You're picking up on something else. But I think we're just full now coming into that realization as a collective more and more that's true. You know what I mean? It's one thing to hear it and know it. We talk about it all the time, like the old tired cliches, right? You know,
Yeah.
you can't love. Yeah, I'm here. Here we go again, Carolyn. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, right?
Right.
But that's true. But it's not just because of some cliche somebody said. It's because if you can't give all of yourself as much, if you're not completely, or if you're not working on yourself being full, you know what I mean, and doing your work and your grounding and your inner work, it's hard for you to give it. Yes, you do love that other person just as much as somebody who had completely done the work, but it's what you can't be as effective as a person in their life, right? If you're not full, or at least working. I don't know if any of us are full yet. I mean, I still got a hell of a long way to go. I know you don't, Carolyn. You're about at the finish line, but
So I'm gonna read this because I feel like this is addressing
yeah.
something that needs to be said.
Hmm.
One of the people put in here 4S nap. I think only a stupid person don't understand their feelings. Do you agree? And most of the people can't understand why they feel what they feel. So that's the place where if the person doesn't understand their feelings, any person understand their own feelings and then destroy everyone. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
explain this to you right now. So you have to understand that you are sovereign within yourself. This is where, okay, so in the beginning, you're this individual operating in your reality, and you think that you are here and others are here, and that you are separate from these others, and these things happening externally from you have nothing to do with you, and you think that you're operating in this little separate space. But when you begin to feel those feelings and you allow them in, so the feelings are the internal experience, your individual internal experience,
Hmm.
not anybody else's, yours. But the emotions are those things that you let out, that you express to others in your external world, your mom, your sister, your husband, your kid, your neighbor. Those are your emotions. That's what you're letting out. Thoughts themselves can be locked in patterns, and you can get this way of existence from your
Yeah.
ancestors, your parents, your way of seeing things. Life is this way, all this stuff. These are like stamps of energy, and these are patterns that if you don't consciously, deliberately address them, you can take them and you can make them your own and put them in your life, but then they aren't your own because you haven't chosen them. You've just allowed them to be. You are actually a separate individual, sovereign in your own reality, which is your experience. And your experience, even though you might be in the same room with your daughter, your wife, your sister, your mom, your dad, your neighbor, is not the
Yeah.
same as their experience. Your internal experience, yours, from the experience you've had this lifetime, and I would suggest from what you are, from your soul, they all affect you in this present moment. There are all these internal things happening within the blessing that is this body vehicle. You are energy in that body. You are energy in that body. Just like I am energy in this body, he is energy in this body. And the point
Yeah.
is that
Your
you begin to
vehicle. Yeah.
take conscious responsibility for what happens within you. You do not have to be, I don't like the word victim, but you don't have to be subservient to
Hmm.
those internal events that happen to you because you get triggered and you don't think you have any control over these triggers within yourself because this thing happens externally. The fact is, you are a blessed soul, a divine being,
Hmm.
a child of God. You can definitely take responsibility and make conscious choice from you doing your work to how you choose to react to that event,
Yeah.
whatever that event is. And I'm not saying that you don't feel anger, you don't feel sadness, you don't feel joy, none of that. I'm saying the degree in which you choose to react to it is your own, and how and the actions
Mhm.
you choose to take, beautiful. And the actions you choose to
But you
take,
are, yeah. You're our God, though, my friend.
yes, you are God. You
Yeah.
are
There's
God.
no separation,
And you
man.
may not want to, you may not, I respect if you don't want to say that. I trust God. You are a divine being.
Mhm.
You are a child of God. You
Yeah.
take the definition of
Absolutely.
that in any way you want to take it. Ultimately, for anything I'm offering or he's offering, it's all an offering. You pick and choose what works for you, just like any soul listening, whatever
Yeah.
works for you. The whole point of this is for you, for every soul to take and they pick and choose to bring this particular topic that we're talking about into your conscious reality, into your daily thoughts, so that when you get off this podcast, you're welcome. You get off this podcast, you're watching Instagram, and those things maybe that used to trigger you and you used to feel yourself get this internal high is what I'm getting, but not necessarily a healthy high. You might begin to consciously have thoughts of, wow, huh,
Oh, I've had a few of those, but in my
you
day,
know,
but that's so good in their story.
as I watch this thing, I feel it triggering me here. And then I begin to have these kind of thoughts. And then I say this kind of thing to my wife, my husband, my neighbor, my child. Wow, I wonder if those things could be
Yeah.
connected. Yes,
Yep.
they
Yeah,
are.
perfectly flawed.
This entire conversation is to bring the truth of this whole connection to you, for
Yeah,
you to
absolutely.
consciously.
And yes,
Thank you.
Carolyn is, you know what, Carolyn's wonderful. Carolyn is an intuitive life coach, by the way, and she's wonderful at it. And of course, I mean, you know, she might have some kind of a psychology degree, but we won't, she doesn't like to brag about herself, but yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that really, it shows right there. You know, you can always tell, ladies and gentlemen, when you're hearing somebody like Carolyn is very, very awakened and very multidimensional, but she's also very methodical and very educated, and it makes for a really great, you know, combination. And so I really appreciate her, and I think that was wonderful. I got something out of what she just said right there. So I appreciate the, you know, the person in the comments section. I'm not going to even try to say the name Fours now, but I appreciate you know what you said to me, Carolyn, or what you were saying to this person here. It really resonated, and like no one knows. Yeah, she really speaks. Yeah, you're right, brother. I don't, I'm going to genderify it, but you're right, my friend. She really does speak to the soul, absolutely, and that was really golden right there, I think. So, yeah, okay, yeah, enough. You know, the love fest can go on and on and on, but yeah, it
There's
really is
no
important.
point in
Yeah,
my sitting here or you sitting here if what we're
yeah,
saying isn't applicable in any
nah,
direction for anybody watching, because the whole
no,
point that I offer, it's all that exists is this moment. Tomorrow is not created yet. All that is
hmm,
present is right here, right now. And so as
yeah,
every soul hears this in this now or any now, and they resonate reason of their heart, which to me, I receive, that's how God, the divine, speaks through us. It connects to us, is that portal. And if this resonates with you, it does, because the knowing, the recognition is already within you. And the whole point is to bring it into your present moment, into right now, where change can happen, where you can change, where you can choose differently, where you can embrace you, love you, accept you for anything that's happening.
yeah,
Period.
yeah. Exactly, and I would just like to say to our friend there, you know, he said he meets so many emotional controlled people, and that's the problem that just, you know, makes the person feel like crap. And I mean, I would almost sarcastically say, "Welcome to the party." I know it's kind of that it's this clearing phase we're in right now. You're gonna find, I think, don't you think, Carolyn? They'll probably encounter less and less of that. I mean, I'm hoping
So
that we're that it's, you know,
I hear you. So what I'm going to say is that emotionally controlled people, okay, I know a lot of them. So emotionally controlled people, I offer
I
this.
got a
This is
couple.
what I offer, is as you allow yourself to step out beyond those bounds of what is emotionally acceptable, because who gets to define that except you and your own reality. As you begin to step out of that for you, not for their comfort, they are the ones that are responsible for how they receive you. You're responsible for how you express you. Certainly
Hmm.
there needs to be respect for
Yep,
them,
yep.
but there also has to be respect for you. So those emotionally controlled people I offer need the most compassion, because to live in a place where you choose to control yourself emotionally and how you express yourself in your external world sounds like hell
Hmm.
to me, sounds awful to me. You
Yeah,
know, you're not living in a place where you're free to express your anger, your hate.
yeah,
You're not living in a place where you're, oh my God, I'm happy, I'm joyful, this is wonderful. To me, one of the most maybe beautiful parts of being human is that you express those emotions and those feelings from within you. And because they are these beautiful creational energies, they are. If you feel joy and you're feeling joy and you're next to somebody and they're in an open place like you are, that joy is infectious. Same thing as anger, but that person next to you, maybe they've done some inner work and they're like, oh, that guy's angry. And they send you compassion, not even to your face. They're just having that thought, wow, God, he's having a rough day. Please, I'm going to send him love. I pray for him. I'm sending him love, whatever that is. So emotionally controlled people are they're in boxes is what I'm receiving. They're in boxes, self-created boxes, or boxes that they've received from their ancestry, and they don't know or choose to get out of those boxes. And my feeling strongly right now is that that's going to become unbearable. It is unbearable.
Yeah,
is what I'm hearing. It's going to become
absolutely.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Speaking of emotionally controlled, go ahead.
Yeah, so you have to become what you want for yourself. And when you're seeking somebody, you become what you want, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you receive a mirror. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
Just all feeling. I'm going to have to deviate off this conversation in a minute, but hold on. Boredom and just all stuff, feeling. Controlled by feelings. So there's a balance, because feelings are very relevant, and the thoughts that correspond, but there is the place of balance. Because, okay, so here's what I'm going to offer, because this is, I'm speaking from my experience. This is a place where I am now. I feel anger. I get pissed. I choose how much I want to express that in general. I might have times where it slips out but generally myself, I feel it. I just don't choose to let it control me. I just don't choose to let it, unless I'm not taking care of myself. The point is that you honor yourself. You're listening to your body vehicle, which is how you're physically here. You're feeding yourself. Anger is okay. Anger is absolutely okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having it right now. I've got my 80-year-old dad talking to his 85-year-old sister, and they're talking about, bullshit that they see on the, mainstream news and all that. And they're stuck in a world, and I don't know why they want to, I don't know why they want to continue to live. It's really crazy. It's really wild.
Literally and
terrible,
literally.
Man. Terrible programming, like two different networks and all they watch. Yeah, it's just really he's just going through the motions, man. It's sad, but it's hilarious because I'm watching a dinosaur. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm
The only thing I'm gonna say, is that is anger okay? Yes, it is. And also realize that you could be in a place where you're angry in one place, but that you're happy here, or you're feeling peace here. It's fully possible to balance all of these. You see the person at the physical level, and you connect with them with God at the divine level. I mean, easily. What is that?
Yeah.
Larry, I kind of feel like we're going off on some tangents.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, my friend. You know what? If you want to talk to one of us afterward, you know what I mean. If you want to talk to me in private too, I mean, I could be I'm a little more. I really am reserved what I say on here, because I can. If you ever hear my personal things that I do on TikTok and shit, I'm really like uncensored, right? And Carolyn, this is kind of a little bit of a different format here. Oh, by the way, Carolyn, just on a side note, I got accused of being a millennial last night. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you about that later. Yeah, you millennials are always complaining. Dude, I'm going to be 50 August 1st, but I appreciate that my voice sounds young. I mean, I missed it by about 10 years, but, on the low, higher end of it. But, okay, man, yeah, but I mean, but if you want to talk to me, I'm Larry Locken. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find Carolyn too. Carolyn is a great resource as well. I'm the guy that's been giving all the advice, right? Yeah, I'll take all the credit for what Carolyn just said. Yeah, but yeah, we're available. So yeah, but we are kind of deviating. But this emotional thing, Yeah, it's really, it's I just feel like I just feel it in the air. I feel it in the air that we're going through this process right now as a collective, and that all these events that are happening, right? It's just they're leading, just kind of the process, right? It's just how we go through it, we get through it. For instance, back in time, the Vietnam War, getting through that, getting through the adjustment of going from mayonnaise, white bread, black and white TV society to more flashy colors, more open-minded thinking, right? And so we're kind of having one of those renaissance. We're kind of having a renaissance, Carolyn. We're really kind of having a renaissance right now, I would think.
At least,
To put it
my thoughts
mildly.
are, at least that I was getting within me. The whole point of this podcast to me is that what I was getting is the next event comes, whatever it is, could be anything in somebody's personal reality or collective or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there will be. Then they will come along. You're talking about like major events, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was getting is that I was getting like this step by step in my head. The event presents, whether it's in your immediate personal reality or it's in the collective. So this is the one I offer you, any soul listening. The event presents. There it is. Wow, there's shock within you. But you also remember that, and you take or choose this as you desire, but if you are here and you choose to be a force of peace, a pillar of light, a stability of love, a place of healing for your world,
Yeah.
the highest service of your world, as I receive. Certainly that's an individual thing. My biggest thing for me is a force of peace. And I've said this in other podcasts, peace is not passive. Peace is not passive at all. It's a deliberate, aligned space of sheer will, of holding this peace and remembering the grace is what I'm hearing within me. You're welcome. Thank you so much. And that this event happens with external, and you decide right there, how much do I want this to pull me? Sometimes if you haven't done a lot of internal work, then you're going to be pulled. Whoa, react like, immediately. Yeah. But if you started to listen more and you have I'm hearing a dialogue going with your inner self, and you are listening to your heart more and you are connected within yourself more, then this event happens and your response, instead of being like jerked by it, might be like, you see it, whatever happens, you take a deep breath, you close your eyes, you center within yourself, you feel within yourself, what is my truth in this situation? How do I really feel about this? How do I want to react? What can I do? How can I serve? And you might find within yourself, wow, holding peace is the biggest force that I can offer right now to be this, and then I can send this group of people, this region, this country, the people that are affected by this, I can send them love, I can send them compassion, I can send them peace. And I'm going to sit here maybe and I'm going to pray for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm going to create this thing. I'm going to send this thing. But to me, what I'm offering is that these things happen. And to me, what I receive is this is the time they're going to happen. This is where you take conscious responsibility for how you want to react, instead of just jerking to what happens, instead of your fear coming at you and you're thinking that your world's falling apart and all this other stuff, that you take a deep breath. From the moment that comes into your awareness, you take a deep breath, you step away from it for a minute, you feel your center, maybe you pray, you connect with God, but you move away intentionally from whatever that event is, because that event is happening externally from you, not internally. And that you anchor yourself within, and I'm hearing you anchor your pillar of light, and that you anchored it.
Right.
And then once you anchored it, And maybe you've answered some questions within yourself, which really can only take moments, just moments. You could have
Well,
a
that's what the whole
fire
show's
going on
about,
around you, and you
Yeah.
could make this choice. You could just for a moment, just take a breath, just a moment, and then you consciously choose what your next action is. And I'm hearing it's not a reaction, it's a conscious action. And then you do that. Then you do that. Then you do what feels right for you in a conscious place, not a jerking place. And the whole point to me of this particular podcast, more than anything, is what I'm feeling is for people to begin to choose that pause, just that moment, just that second. That thing just happened. That
Right.
car wreck just happened in front of my house. Oh my God, that person was decapitated. This is really rough. This is what I'm seeing. You despite that, you take a moment. You don't have to close your eyes. You just take a deep breath, and you just center yourself for just that moment before you go run off with your head cut off. There they go again. I think my guys are trying to do a pun. And then you go and do what you feel like you need to do, but you center yourself. And that's the whole point, is that with each of these, you do your best to center yourself, and you decide, how do I want to react? What is my thing I can do? What can I do without spinning? This is about choosing consciously your choice as much as possible. Larry?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was good. What I was kind of foaming at the mouth, ready to say was, this is what the whole, helping this person here. This is what the whole idea behind Carol and I starting the show was. It wasn't to really, on a mass level, educate people, because we're not here to do that. God knows I'm not.
No,
That'd be
really
Carolyn.
not.
But one person is affected by it. I feel like we've done our job. You know what I mean? And I'm always saying that if one person is, gets something out of this, that's all we could ever hope for, right? They maybe get just one little bit of nugget of information that resonates with them, or some encouragement, letting them know they're not alone out there, right? And that goes back to the emotional feeling, emotional control. I should have played that. I should have played that bumper song, Carolyn. I was going to play "Emotional Rescue" by the Rolling Stones. I put it on
Right?
our yeah, I put it on our page with the some little pictures of Carolyn and I. But yeah, it really is. It does. That's our whole purpose here. We're not here to become the next Art Bell, right, or next George Borey, and have 25 minutes of or 35 minutes of commercials an hour. It's just not, what we're doing. Although I could be bought off for enough money. I mean, we're all human. But yeah, really though. I mean, yeah. So we're just here to, if we got one person, which it sounds like maybe we just gave somebody a little bit of food for thought. We've done our job. You can pat yourself on the back. I'll do it for you, Carolyn. There. Yeah. Carolyn helped a little though. Yeah. But really, that's what it's about. And the theme with our shows is one topic leads into another topic. And Carolyn and I don't design it that way. We want you to know when we come up with a topic for the next week, we don't come up with anything because of what we talked about last week or the week before, or things of that nature. We talk about whatever comes to us through consciousness. And I think what it's led to, though, is it's consciousness, and our guides have led us down this road.
Yeah, they have, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And they even tell us when it's time to turn off the show every week without fail, haven't they? Every week they've given us a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this person's comments, Mr. or Mrs. Fours, Nabnib, something another. Yeah, and I kind of feel like we addressed as much as we can in this podcast.
Yeah.
We
Right.
even talked about that. Wait, see, there are people under that. Okay, good. Yes, this is your responsibility now to go research that. And with discernment, which again is the filtering of the heart of those things that are of love, not the mind, not judgment, which filters out and you'll see a little bit of your reality. It's discernment, which is an action of the heart, where you're pulling in love, everything that is of love, everything that is loving intent, and that's what you're going to be filtering through, choosing from. Yes, and
it's about the. Right, go ahead.
Go on, Larry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say it's all about too when we talk about discernment. Like, right, Carolyn told you to go research it. But don't get hung up on a person. Get hung up on, if anything, the information. Don't get hung up on the information, but take the information that resonates with you. Not
Yeah.
who, forget who's saying. Well, you got to kind of keep in mind who's saying it. But I would never go out and start talking about, well, he said this or this person said that. I don't give a fuck what that motherfucker said. What do you think? Right? I hate to be blunt, but I know people that'll quote people all the time, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean,
The center,
I could care less who they are or what they
center
are.
of your experience is you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Larry, I'm just kind of.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. We'll have to talk to you after. Contact us, one of us afterwards. Really. And I'd be glad to go there with you too. But I'm not gonna. I'm a little bit blunt when I'm talking, so I don't want to get. I don't want to say too much. I've already said, a couple of swear words. I've got my fill in for the day, but
I'm gonna say this because my heart's feeling it. Temporary, yeah. They for anybody listening, they're talking about I give up being temporary to people and get alone more often. So, it's about loving yourself, which I was saying earlier in the podcast, which is about ultimately accepting yourself, and that's the beginning of healing. And temporary people are not friends. And the path, honestly, they're not friends.
People.
And the path for all healing, to me, what I receive is there are going to be many, many, many times when you are alone. But to me, it's not really alone. It's solitude. It's you and God. And to me, that's the most sacred conversation of all. And you get really comfortable with that to the point where your standards raise, because the way you treat yourself, you expect those external from you to treat the same, and you begin to magnetize those people in. You treat yourself well, not lying, honest, but loving with self, genuine with self, authentic with self, accepting the choices you've made, the great ones and the crappy ones, and then you magnetize that to you. Okay, I'm not going to say any more about this. That's good. And when we're talking about the topic of the feelings, emotions, and their thoughts, the point of this podcast was kind of to bring it up into the present, to plant seeds. I don't know if we'll revisit this one again. We might, but I mean, the whole point is that you realize that as you choose and as you do that inner work, that you become clear within yourself, healing. It's a balance, healing. And as you do that, you become clear within yourself, and then the external reflections that you're drawn to and that are drawn to you are of the same frequency, and then they become clear as well. And you can clearly see where you were, what you used to be drawn to. And beautiful. And that's very important. And that all begins by the first steps, which are usually the rug's pulled out from underneath you. But it's something that jars you, something that triggers you. Triggers are triggers because these external triggers, or even internal, they need to be addressed, because there's a point when you do that work, however you do that work, within yourself, with a friend, in nature, with a professional, singing, whatever works for you. Over time, there's a point where those triggers won't trigger you anymore. They don't exist. They don't. You have awareness of it, but you see it and you're like, oh yeah, that used to bug me. Huh. Look where I am. I can see that. It doesn't mean that you might find other triggers, but those original triggers are gone. And healing slowly is you become more and more sovereign within yourself. You choose more and more consciously what you give your energy to, what you allow to take up your time, what you give your attention to. It's conscious choice. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, so I think that's a great attitude to have. You're young, you're healthy, you're loving, you're beautiful. I see you said you're 24. I am
Beautiful.
24, by the way. Okay, so I don't know if that's your age or it's some other kind of
Thank you.
thing,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, but I'm 49 and I'll be 50 August 1st. So you gotta think your lucky
I'll be
stars.
18 on the
Oh,
24th.
Carolyn, you don't look a day over 98, girl.
No,
You look
not 18,
wonderful,
13,
wonderful.
right? 13. That'll be at 13.
Yeah.
The 58, which I don't connect to at all, which is why I'm saying 13, because I don't know what that other number means. I really don't. I don't connect with that anymore. Um, so
Yeah, that's a weird thing you got going on there with 13, but yeah.
I like it. Um, yes. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, thank you. So, Larry, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I think we've covered a lot of it. Oh, you're sure you're from Sweden? Great. So I'm part Swedish too. I'm about 75% Scandinavian. It's funny, Carol and I just had this talk the other night. I said, Carolyn, are you Scandinavian? She's no, she's German, and it made sense.
More German, yeah.
Yeah, she's German, but I'm about 75% Scandinavian. I've got Swedish in me, Norwegian, Danish, and Finn. All of it. And I was
Right.
married to a Scandinavian girl for a long time. Well, she's from Iceland. She lived in Denmark for 24 years before we got married. And yeah, well, that's we had a good thing, but it didn't work out. And hey, it didn't work out. But Scandinavia is a lot more open of a place, though. You have to understand you're lucky you're not. Yes, really. Yeah, we'll talk in private if you want. You're really not. You're lucky you're not from
That's
America.
one of
You're
those
open
places I
minded
want to
there.
visit this
Yeah, I
lifetime.
used to love, Carolyn. I'm telling you, Carolyn. This is something. When I was a kid growing up in the '80s, they really late at night on HBO they had these really really cool movies from Sweden. I don't know really what they were about, and I couldn't read the subtitles, but they were really entertaining. But I couldn't tell you what they were really about. But they were late at night. But anyway, that's another story. That's another story for another topic. But yeah, it's true. It was I was 14 or whatever. I don't know, but they were really cool. The plots were great to it. If I could only remember them. Huh. Yeah, but I remember him very clearly, the movie, but not so much the plot, kind of. But yeah, but Sweden's a great place to be. Yeah, so I've heard.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You're lucky to be living in that part of the world, actually. Honestly, I mean, yeah, think you're lucky stars for being there.
Yeah,
Seriously.
from what I've seen, it's really beautiful as well. Yeah, for sure. We're going
No.
by the comments we're actively seeing here. Yeah,
Well, I can think of another intuitive life coach who's really great from Sweden too. I hate to bring her up, but her name is Yvonne Ganez. That's all I'll say.
yeah.
She does hell of a light code photos, and she is a wonderful at that. And I don't think she's from Sweden, but she lives there and has for a long time. But I think I don't know. But all those countries kind of run in together to me. You know what I mean? And they keep coming up with all these new countries over there too, like Estonia and Latvia. All these new countries that were never there until I saw them on a map. Well, they were always really there. I'm just joking, guys. I mean, I'm kidding. I like making fun of us Americans because we really, sometimes aren't on the ball.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes, that's true. That's true. More
for
aware
sure.
people here in the U.S. by a fucking long shot, my friend. It's not all of us, but yeah. Oh, I mean, that's kind of goes without saying, right? I mean, and anybody that would
Yeah.
disagree and get defensive would be, socialism.
Larry,
Okay.
Larry, you ready?
Yeah. Anyway, but. This has been I really think this has been productive because despite whatever kind of minutia has happened in the background or whatever, helping people is the main thing here. Okay, and this is what we're here to do:
Divine flow.
healing,
Yeah, absolutely.
divine flow. We don't exist in time here on the PEP. And I've always
Right.
said that. I used to joke that, but then shows just kind of flow, right? But Carolyn
Right.
and I are trying to keep this one to a minimum. And Carolyn, yeah, I mean, what would you think about us beating the guides to the punch this time? Or you know what I mean?
No, my feeling is to do that. My feeling is just to go.
is it
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I didn't want to impose because if you have any more knowledge to drop and any more wisdom, I'd say go for it, girl. Yeah,
I feel like
I had a
there's been a
bunch, but
lot offered,
I think it's
and
been answered.
what's that?
I had a bunch to bring up, but it's been answered. We've talked about it during this. I mean, this kind of was like a lot of what I was thinking about, as far as dealing with different kinds of people and, having people in your life that are not quite, well, they see tunnel vision basically. When you start to open your mind and wake up a little bit, it's almost like in a well, I'm not going to say vision with your eyes, but you
Open your
feel
heart.
and see more of a peripheral. When you open up your heart center, your candy store, like I like to call it, or the blue orb goddess, this entity from the
Right.
Pleiades, I channel calls it the candy store.
Right.
Yeah, and Carolyn, what do you call? Well, speaking of the heart, Carolyn, what the hell is your mission? You know what your mission is? That catchphrase of yours. You're here to reawaken the
My mission. Okay, yes,
yeah,
and I see that.
man.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say this: age is a name. It's a word. It doesn't really. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that about the comment. That last comment, because I feel younger now than I did when I was in my 20s. Because I had so much fear within me and so many expectations and so many things of external stuff, and I put so much energy into that stuff. So
Yeah,
it's okay. It's
man.
okay. So okay, yes. So my mission is to be a reawakener of the conversation of the heart. And for me, the conversation of the heart is the conversation between the sacred mind, sacred heart, body, vehicle, voice of the soul. And I'm here to walk with those souls who resonate reason of the heart with me, to help connect them to their truth, beauty, and grace as expressions of the divine. I receive that the heart is a portal. It's a multidimensional portal into many different dimensions, timelines, and other existences. And as we connect with the heart in its full conversation, we transform our world. And the analogy I've been given within me is of the it's the placement of the Sacred Heart, is that if you look at a traditional camera, you've got the physical camera, that's the physical body vehicle. You've got the image that you're looking through or looking at. That is the sacred mind. That's the image you're looking at. However, you are restricted and constricted because the mind is a finite space. It is ruled by logic, and you don't really feel in the mind. You can have that to an extent, but that's not the beginning. That's not the origin space. The energy that illuminates that energy of what you're seeing at the sacred mind, of what
Mhm.
you're seeing in your physical reality, I receive that as the Sacred Heart. Back here in the background has always been there, has always been the illuminator, but over the eons of time that we've been in the Piscean age, the energy was not supportive for us to connect with the Sacred Heart. And you can say, it was denied, ignored, subverted, subdued. Any one of those things are all accurate, all of them. The voice of the divine feminine, which is the Sacred Heart, the divine masculine is the sacred mind, was silenced for whatever reason. And you can point to innumerable reasons. My point now is that we are now in the age, we are entering the age where the sacred mind and the sacred heart work in balance, and that the divine flow is that the sacred heart leads. This to me is compassion and power, and they work together, and creation comes from this space. Power to me, as I said earlier in the podcast, is perception of will, experience, received. Will, that will is not your little will, it's divine will, either merged or surrendered with your will. And then we go and we create in our space from a place of aligning in this flow. And so it's all about bringing people into empowerment, your own empowerment. Each of these podcasts is for that. I offer soul sessions where I work with each soul to connect them to this conversation. I also connect with what many people would call the Akash within me. It's called the Library of the Heart, because I am less concerned about what you were in that time and more concerned about
Mhm.
how you feel, what your internal experience was, and those emotions, because those are energetic stamps that go from that reality, that time, into now, and imprint now, that are carried through from your ancestors. And my point is to help free you, aid you in moving out of those patterns, and into a higher emotional experience, is what I'm hearing. I can be reached on Instagram as allowing what is it?
Allowing underscore light underscore
Underscore
yeah,
allowing underscore
yeah.
the underscore light. Yeah. Facebook. I have a personal page, which is Carolyn&Larry Roberts. Mission business page is allowing the light, because nothing happens until you first allow. Let's see. YouTube, I have an old channel, which is what is my old channel? Is
It's
allowing
allowing the
light?
light. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we
Allowing
got
the
to get up
light. For now, I have two
there.
channels. I have an old channel, which is allowing the light, and the newer channel is Carolyn&Larry Roberts, in parentheses, is allowing the light. Sometime I'll change that name. It's pretty damn long. And I haven't put anything there for a while, but I'm working on it. I also have an Etsy store where I take photography that is light language infused, and I sell blank cards on my Etsy store. And Etsy, for now, I'm on Etsy. If you look into the labyrinth of that is Etsy, you can find me under search, allowing the light. No, party supplies, and then allowing the light. Sorry, guys, that's Etsy. It's a labyrinth, and you'll find me in the searches there, the beginning searches. Does that sound like it, Larry?
Let's see. You've touched on Instagram. Okay. Yeah. We're still trying to get Carolyn on TikTok.
The only other thing I'm going to say is that I put out periodic blessing pics. This is kind of how I started, which are the blessing pics are the images, the light language infused photography, or the photography and the words that channel through me. And I put those out on my personal page all the time, and my Mission Bishop page on Instagram, and they're all intended for whoever resonates with it, for however it serves. I think that's it.
You think that's it? Wow. Okay, that was
your
great.
attention, and wonderful to talk to you. Snabbit. Thank you. Okay, go on. Take it away, Larry.
Well, it's always, of course, Carolyn, it's always a pleasure to be with you on this broadcast. I am, of course, Larry Locken, your host with the most from coast to coast, giving up all the toast, giving you coolness, hotness, and everything you could have possibly cosmically wantedness. Okay, so you can find me. Usually I cut it real short. Okay, so I'm on every social media platform you can imagine. I'm not on SoundCloud, but I'm on all the chats, the grams, the bips, the bops, the hips, the hops, the blue skies, the threads, dreads. I don't need any more street cred. Lemonade. I am the Lemonadian Pleiadian. If you ever should go on Lemonade. You can find me at all those. I have different names, but you can always find me as the surname to it is the Larry Locken channel. Okay, you can find me on any of those by that name, and then I have some little cutesy name that I imagined in that little, tiny little brain of mine. Okay, so you can find all those in one spot. You can go to Facebook, and there's a page called Larry Locken social media outlets, and that's Rockin, Rocken, like my last name, Locken, Locken social media outlets, and it's also got a secondary name, the Larry Locken Network. You can have a secondary name on your Facebook page. Now, that'll have everything I'm involved in, right? All the groups I've ever created in 13 years, all the, different Facebook pages I'm on. I'd appreciate a like button. It's irritating me. I've got about 9,900 and some, and I'd like to get to 10,000. I'm not obsessed with numbers, but 10,000 is a big deal, and then I'll quit obsessing with numbers forevermore. I'll never, ever do it again. I promise. Okay, so if we can get, that would be great if you could go there and hit like, and you're not going to be bothered a lot by notifications, because I don't post shit there except for when there's a new, when I'm doing something new, which isn't going to be for a long time. So you'll never get any notifications from it ever. Once in a fluke of a blue tie-dyed moon, maybe. Okay, so you can find me there. I've got 5 YouTube channels. Okay, here's the deal. This is the mothership here. I've got I got the Larry Locken 1 channel. That's the number 1 at Pleiadian Express Productions /YouTube. We go to the Larry Locken number 2 channel at Pleiadian Light Grid Project /YouTube. Larry Locken 3 channel at Arcturian Crystal Blue Angels /YouTube. Number 4 is Pleiadian and Angelic Rainbow Orbs. Larry Locken 4 channel at Pleiadian Angelic Rainbow Orbs /YouTube. Now, that's also my favorite page that I have on Facebook. It's hot. It's awesome. It's got about, getting close to about 12,000 followers, but it has the traffic of a page that has, like 30,000, okay? So, and then the 5 channel is the Larry Locken 5 channel at Pleiadian Blue Love Healing. slash YouTube. Okay. The reason I have my name on all those, it's not because of my ego. It's because somebody recommended I do that about a year ago. They said, well, have you ever thought about putting your name on your brand? I said, yeah, well, shit, I thought about it years ago, but I never did it. So why do you do it? You know, you can use a different handle name. You don't, most people have their YouTube channel is their handle name as well. They said, you can have a different handle name. And she said, you know, I said, okay, well, hey, this girl's an established author. She just came out with another book too. And so I said, you know, you telling me something like that, I'll go do it. So I went and did it. And no, I don't have the 5 YouTube channels out of ego. I have them because they were given to me when I started doing this. I signed up for something through Google Hangout, which is how we used to do shows through YouTube back in the prehistoric days, right? In the early part of the last decade. So I had 5 channels. 3 of them were dormant until last year. So I just married them up with pages and, you know, figured somebody would carry on the legacy. I don't know who, but I'd appreciate checking those out. And yeah, if you really want to see some cool light codes and cool pictures, come on over to Pleiadian Angelic Rainbow Orbs page on YouTube. No, yeah, that too, but on Facebook. Yeah. Okay. God, man, Carolyn, these energies are just crazy, girl. Okay, is that about it? Did I leave anything out that you can think of? You know, my firstborn, my, you know,
We
yeah.
we are here every Thursday unless something happens.
Oh,
Usually we're here every
yeah.
Thursday at 9 a.m. Central. No, wait,
No, 9 a.m.
11
Pacific.
a.m. 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Pacific. There you go.
Yep. 12 o'clock on the East Coast, and that would be 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. As you move into Scandinavia, it's a little bit later. You go hour by hour as you go through Finland and Norway and all over and, you know, and back around and do the hokey pokey. And forgot about pizza. Yeah, pizza. Yeah, Carolyn, that's a sore subject for Carolyn. Carolyn is not having pizza right now, and I think her babes is trying to get her to eat it sometimes. And she's like, nah, I'm not eating that shit right now. Yeah, but I like it. I have it all the time. So, but I'm boring, girl. I'm a cheese pizza guy, and that's all I eat. I'm a vegetarian that doesn't like eggs, mushrooms, tomatoes, or onions. So,
Mushroom pizza. That's
ugh, no way, yuck, man. No, man. Just cheese and crushed red pepper, salt, pepper, and red Tabasco. That's it. Yeah, I don't like mushrooms. I'm a vegetarian, but I don't like eggs, mushrooms, onions, or tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes in a salad are okay, but other than that, not yeah, yuck, no way. You know, because so I got a really, you know, wide palate. My palate is sought after. Okay, it's sought after. People want to know, Larry, what do you think? People are always asking me what I think. I mean, I was on an airplane the other day, and the co-pilot came and asked me, you know, what do you think, Larry, we should have for the snack? So anyway, it's just kind of one of the things that goes with being me. But I would like to tell everybody I love you guys so much. Please tune in next week and we'll have another fine show. I'm on the Oregon coast, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I'm about a mile from as far west as you can get on the west coast of the U.S. If you look at a west coast map, that middle state, the indention, I'm in there. I was just to the Pacific Ocean yesterday. In fact, if these trees weren't in the way behind me, I could see it right now. So,
cool.
and Carolyn is down there in you know, in Texas, and where everything is, you know, the stars at night are always big and bright. Everything is bigger in Texas. Well, almost everything.
Green.
Yeah, almost everything. Yeah. Almost everything's bigger down there, you know. But, you know, of course, if I was down there, it'd be really, really big. But that's another story because that's just how my personality is. Yeah. So with that, I'd like to give everybody a big cosmic dating. People are going to wonder what the hell, but I'm going to give you a big cosmic dating game kiss. Mwah. Da, 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 da. All right, Carolyn, I am going to log. Okay, so goodbye to, goodbye to Instagram. Yeah, go Telegram. I need another gram. Okay, no kidding. Okay, we're Xing out of here. Okay, bye to X. I think X, you're going to be an X real soon. Yeah, X, you're, fucking X. X. Okay, Carolyn, we said goodbye there. Now we're going to say goodbye to Twitch. Let's say goodbye to Twitchy. Bye, Twitchy. Oh, Carolyn, Lanier Roberts left. Okay, well, here. Well, we're going to end Twitch. Okay, Twitch has ended. Where we at? Who we at? Okay, I got to get out of here. This is the most professional thing anybody's ever seen since the dawning of time. Since the beginning of time. Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, that went, yeah, Carolyn just messaged me now. That went very well. Here, I'll snoop in on our private conversations. Carolyn, what do you think when your husband wears those really khaki looking jeans? No. Oh yes, goodbye, Forrest nap. To get a good rest. It's probably past your bedtime there, and you get a good old you know, the land of the blue and yellow flag. Yeah, I've got a friend Yvonne. I always send her one with purple on it. There's a purple Swedish flag. You know what I'm saying? No, probably not. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's a little American humor, which is very off-putting, I know to most. Okay, in there. Okay, good.